That's been circulated. Does anybody have any additions or changes?
I have one addition. It'll come after at the end of my report. It's for land or access, motion to look at an access.
Motion to what, sorry, Ben?
For access
Okay.
to land.
We'll put that under 3.3E2. We'll do some ratification
I was going to say that.
of council. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, add a ratification for some council attendance in September.
We'll do that under 2.1B.
Okay.
Anything else? A motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Bigger, all in favor? Motion is carried. We had the minutes of the September 17th regular council meeting included in the package. Did anybody see any errors or omissions? Councillor Eichert has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. The minutes from the public hearing of September 17th.
I'll move the minutes.
Deputy Reeve Custer has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Just a couple of things to highlight from my report. We've had two really good meetings with Minister Pon, Minister of Seniors and Housing in Edmonton, with the Wheatland Housing Board. At the first one, we jointly presented the Seniors Housing Needs Assessment and Business Case that was presented by Gordon and Associates. We had really good reception from the minister. And then there was a second meeting arranged for September 26th, where we highlighted a couple of key updates. Town of Strathmore had formally passed a resolution to contribute the land. As well, the Housing Board and the Hospice Board had agreed to have a Hospice Board member sit on the Housing Board. I believe that just needs to be ratified by the minister, I believe. I tried to just emphasize some things that sort of might set our project apart. I know the minister's seeing a lot of potential projects right now. Some of the things I highlighted were the alignment with the blue panel, the blue ribbon panel McKinnon report, recommendation 15. Our project aligns quite well with that. And as well, just some of the long-range planning that makes this a good project with the market housing potential for after kind of the wave of seniors that we're experiencing with the baby boomers. And as well, the hospice is very unique. It may be the only arrangement like that in Alberta. So the minister was very interested in that. Community Futures, I did just provide an update on that metal fabrication industry growth project. The first two phases of that are complete, and the third phase is contingent on industry involvement. So we'll see, I'll update if that phase is completed. I think I already shared with council some of the preliminary information that came out of the Alberta Police Costing Model webinar, and as well administration has attended RMA phone conference since then. So at this point, we just have some of the proposed modeling that's been made available. I think I also shared previously an update on the CMRB board meeting with Honourable Minister Madu. It was a good meeting. He seemed very focused on the rural perspective at the CMRB, and that was encouraging. A few of us did attend the Alberta Advantage Immigration Strategy Town Hall with Premier Kenney, Honourable Jason Copping, and Parliamentary Secretary Yassine. And as well, most of the caucus was there. It was also a good opportunity to see Minister Pon again. So we spent some time chatting with her as well. It was really good information, and initially I wasn't sure what the kind of tie into our council might be, but because of some of the rural initiatives with the Rural Entrepreneur Stream and the Rural Renewal Program, there could be some opportunities for Wheatland County if council wants to look into that. It was indicated that there would be some financial costs for some of the support programs that might be necessary for those programs to be successfully implemented in a municipality. But the province will be looking for rural municipalities to be involved in those projects. We had a good IDP meeting with Drumheller. I'll just pass this around. Kneehill County had their 75th anniversary, and they did a really nice job of the day. They had a photo contest, historical displays from each of the communities all around the curling rink. It was really nice. I'll highlight the play at Rosebud Theatre, encourage everybody to go. It's a retelling of Martin Luther King Jr.'s kind of hypothetical Last Night on Earth, and it was a very powerful play. We had an excellent sub-regional meeting in Chestermere. The main purpose was to discuss the proposal for the highway realignment, and then we also did discuss some potential economic development opportunities in the sub-region. A few of us attended Honorable Doug Schweitzer, Minister of Justice and Solicitor General's Talking Rural Crime Tour in Cheadle. We heard some of the initiatives that the provincial government is following up from their platform in terms of rural crime. And then there were also some questions just regarding what our municipality is doing, and so I was able to share what we've done historically and just what we're looking at in the future. Councillor Clausen and myself attended the roundtable discussion with Minister here and MLA Lovely, and that was focusing on red tape reduction in Langdon. They went through kind of the act and some of what they're looking at, and then we roundtabled just ways that there was industry, business, government, nonprofit representation, and we kind of looked at it from each perspective, ideas for reducing red tape. Some of the things that Councillor Clausen and I focused on were the CMRB in conjunction with Rocky View County, and as well as some of the Alberta Environment and Parks regulations that slow down and make our transportation projects more costly, and just what the consequences of that are. Notably, at the Calgary Metropolitan Region Board meeting, we had Honorable Rick McIver, Minister of Transportation. He shared a pretty high-level message. With the budget not being out, he couldn't really speak to any specific projects, whether they'll be funded or not at this point. But he did outline some of the criteria that his department will be looking at projects and just kind of rating their prioritization based on those. And as well, we had our first IREF application challenge. So Rocky View County had an application in for some amendments to their county plan, and that application was defeated. So that's the first IREF application that's been challenged and defeated. It was defeated, I guess 3 of the urban municipalities had challenged it. The updated work schedule was not approved. That had been tabled from June's meeting. There was some concerns, several concerns around that, so there needs to be some more discussion on that. The North Calgary Regional Transportation Study was adopted, and the board did direct CMRB administration to forward the ACT fund kind of support letter to the new government. Also attended the governance meeting. Just to highlight the financials, there is fairly strong financials still for the CMRB. It does look like they'll be sufficient with the funding that they have for 1 to 2 years past what we currently have funding for, just with some uncertainty around provincial support for that. As well, we looked at a proposed dispute resolution and appeal mechanisms and a procedural policy for reconsideration of motions that will come back to the board. I attended an excellent Prairie to Pallet kind of farm to table dinner at Rocking Our Guest Ranch with lots of local producers it was a good chance to actually visit with some of the producers, hear about their operations and what their plans are for the future. It was very exciting. Dark fiber broadband working group. So we are getting closer to understanding what kind of ownership and governance model we could look at. And we will be drafting a memorandum of understanding for the next meeting. They're also developing a real-time scenario cost matrix. So if other municipalities want to come on board for the project, we can in real time kind of adjust the costs for everybody as that changes. I'll move approval of my report unless anybody has any questions.
Please repeat all that.
Yeah, sure.
Just one quick question on the Rosebud play. Was there any truth to the rumor that Justin Trudeau played Martin Luther King in blackface?
I did not notice that, no.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think I would have noticed.
What was the question?
I just heard a rumor that Justin Trudeau was playing
That he played Martin Luther King Jr.?
in blackface.
No, he wasn't. He might have somewhere else, but not there.
Okay, no truth to that rumor then.
Any other questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Deputy Reeves report. Oh, sorry. Before that, we'll do 3.1B. So as I had circulated via email, I was approached by some representatives from Alberta E911 Advisory Association, and they had asked if our council would consider putting forward a resolution to RMA regarding an increase to 911 levies. So it wouldn't actually be asking the government for any increased funding, but it would just be an increased user fee on cellular devices. What they're currently collecting is not adequate for some of the kind of new technology that they're trying to roll out and the modernization that they're doing with the system. So I believe the proposed resolution is in our package on page 21. And I had circulated some background information, that 911 transition roadmap for Canadian PSAPs. I don't know if anybody has any questions or if council wants to consider this. So as you'll be aware, we missed the deadline for district support on this resolution. So that was the September 4th deadline where we submitted our other resolutions that will go to district to the central district for support at that level. I did speak with a couple of the policy analysts at RMA, and they said it's completely fine to submit an independent, they just call it an individual resolution. That would be due to RMA by October 18th. And then RMA staff did offer just to review it because it won't be going through that kind of middle review at the district level. But she said this is a fine way to do it, to just, you don't obviously have that support from other municipalities at that point. So it hasn't kind of been tested like it would be if it went to central district, so. On page 22, there is an outline of some of the proposed modernization that they're looking at. They do note that it's 24 cents. So it's the current levy in Alberta is 44 cents a month, which is 24 cents less than the average and 73 cents less than the highest levy. Does anybody have any questions?
So they're just asking for an increase, they're not saying how much or what their goal is? Can't see it anywhere.
I don't think they give a suggested amount. Just that RMA requests that the Government of Alberta amend the emergency 911 levy regulation and increase the 911 levy payable by cellular device subscribers. And further be resolved that the increased revenues be distributed to the entities operating 911 public safety answering points or PSAPs.
I'm thinking, since we didn't go through the process, there's enough old people up there that are going to complain about it, not going through the district level and getting that support. Oh, if it's emergent, we can enter it under emergent. I think it'll go over a lot better. We have a District 2 meeting coming up. I think we should present it there for sure, see if we can garner support there. I think a case can be made for this to be emergent because the CRTC come out with these things in June, and the dispatch people, 911, they have a group, I don't know what they're called, but they have a meeting probably 2 weeks ago, and they had time to go through what these recommendations are going to cost us. I don't know what they're going to cost here in Wademsa, but what it is being able to send text messages to dispatch over your phone. We don't have that capability now. CRT says we have to do it. Then I think, I'm not sure when the date is, these upgrades have to be done. Next summer for sure. And you're right, I think it's 24 cents now, 23 cents. Province gets, TELUS gets 4 cents. The providers get it, the rest of it. So when you make a 911 call on your cell phone, that tower is in your region, you get that money, okay? So we're the lowest in Canada. I'm thinking they're looking at a 90 cent, I think would put us in the ballpark with the rest of Canada. If we don't, 911, call answer 911 doesn't get this funding, it'll have to come back to the municipalities to fund this upgrade. So I'd asked one other question, I was curious. If Wheatland County didn't belong to Wademsa, or Wademsa didn't have call answer 911 and we belong to another municipality, there's really nothing stopping that municipality from coming back to us and saying, you have to help pay for these upgrades. It is a province-wide thing. It is something that we're going to have to deal with. So yeah, I would be in favor of the motion, but I would think it should be an emergent type motion, being that we missed the deadline. If we don't have support from our district, I would be hesitant to take it up.
So when I
And there
spoke,
is no cost to the taxpayers through the government. These fees are on your cell phone, so it would be, instead of 24 cents, say it's 90 cents on your monthly bill.
yeah, it's just for the levy, like you said. We are the second lowest in Canada. When I spoke with RMA, they said that from their just brief review of this, they weren't sure that it would meet the criteria for an emergent resolution, and that's why they suggested doing the individual resolution. They said it will be presented exactly the same as a district approved resolution. It just won't say district approved by District 2 at the provincial convention. So I think our odds of having it be accepted are much greater if we do it as an individual resolution by our municipality. If the district will allow us to speak to it at the district meeting, we can certainly do that, but we have missed the deadline to have it placed on that agenda formally.
Well, through the chair, I don't know why it wouldn't meet the conditions of emergent, because it's emergent resolutions are supposed to affect the whole province, not just the one zone or one municipality. And that's but to me, it doesn't matter which way it goes through, but I would think it would be better accepted if there was a dollar value and a price. If we're looking at an increase, put a price in there that we're looking at. Otherwise, I'm sure it'll be amended to include a price in there somewhere.
So part of the reason I brought it today was to leave us time. If there's any feedback, I could take it back to their advisory group. And so if that's the direction, like, can you please recommend a price? Then they can amend this before our council ratifies it, or we can ratify it based on a suggested increased levy being integrated into it.
So you're going to let them
way?
suggest what the price increase should be?
I don't want to suggest that just because I haven't fully researched this and because I haven't initiated it, but I could contact the Alberta E911. They were under the mistaken impression that they could put forward a resolution to RMA, so they didn't totally understand kind of the process and that this has to be a municipality that puts forward a resolution. So I'm happy to get in touch with them and have them amend the resolution to include a recommended or requested levy increased from the 44 cents.
So why don't we tell the CRTC to pound sand, and we will get to it when we get to it, or they have them enough guts to levy this thing across Canada. It's our cell phone, like, they're the ones that control cell phone rates. Justin's going to give us a break on our cell phone rate, so when he gives us a break, he can include this. I mean, why are we involved in this? This is, I understand how we get involved in it, but this is not, like, they're just downloading crap onto us all the time. But do what you will.
So is that going to be that kind of day, eh?
Good morning, Tom.
Yeah, good morning.
Sorry.
Okay.
Just, I get so frustrated with this stuff that we are spending our time doing stuff that another branch of government should just own up to it and just do it. And we should be able to decide whether or not we need text-ready responses on our, and if it is such a demand, then our dispatch takes care of it. My bad.
So a question to council, are you comfortable ratifying or considering the resolution without a cost, or would you like to see a cost and then bring it back?
I'd like to see a cost.
I think it
What's the
costs,
cost right now is
44 cents a month
So
on your cell phone bill.
put 22 in there.
Drop it to 22
No,
or increase it by 22.
half of what it is right now.
Deputy Reeve Custer had indicated he heard around 90 cents total would be required to fund the changes. Is that, did I hear you correctly?
44 now. I think 90's maybe closer to the average, I think. I don't know what the average exactly is in Canada.
We're that low?
Yeah.
We're the second lowest in Canada, 24 cents less than the average, 73 cents less than the highest.
And the rest of Canada is faced with this CRTC ruling too, and I'm not aware of anybody else has text messaging on cell phones. I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe we're the last one. I don't know.
Somewhere in
So
Canada, it's
a new rule
$1.17.
for us. 100 some thousand, I think, for the one box. I shouldn't even say that. I'm not sure. If you want to have a more in-depth, ask Rob Whitty to come in, and I'm sure he could brief you very well on it. I'm thinking at least 90 cents. Right now, we charge about $8 in pennies for requisition for dispatching fire. If you don't get any help, that requisition's gonna have to go up.
To me, it just, if they don't increase it over time when they take one, to me, it's such a jump to go from one to the other without taking maybe two. Like,
Yeah.
if they're operating on 44 now, and then all of a sudden, bang, you need 90 cents, that's a fair,
Big jump.
that's a fair jump, so.
I'm kind of with Amber here. We don't really know enough about this, do we?
I have
To
emailed
suggest?
the organization that put this forward to see if they have a recommended levy. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'll hear back quickly or not. I'm not sure. I'd be comfortable, like, I'm comfortable with the resolution as is and just lobby for an increase, and then they could
Increase what?
look
they
at
need.
all of the factors that influence that and determine what they would increase it to, or whether it would be phased in, you know, like gradually increased, or whether they would just bump it up. I think the big thing is just advocating for the increase. The other factor that plays into this is the decreased revenue from landlines. So that's the other factor, is that previously they were collecting levies based on landlines, and that's decreasing 3 to 7% per year, so. I'll put a motion on the floor that Wheatland County Council submit the resolution titled Cellular 911 Call Answer Fee Increase to the RMA as an individual resolution, as presented. Any discussion?
I'd still like to see a price in it, but I'm not gonna vote against it because of that.
We do have time prior to the October 18th deadline. I could bring back an amendment to our October 15th council meeting if their group has a recommended levy to advocate for.
I'd like to see pricing, otherwise I'd vote against it, to be honest.
A friendly amendment to raise it to 66, and then they can still bring back the other and it can be amended further, but at least then we've got something in there. That makes sense?
Raise it by 66 or to 66?
Well, half of that, so it's 66 from 44. If it goes up half of that, it's 66, and that's halfway to the
Yeah, I got you.
90.
Would we consider going to the 90 that
Doesn't matter to
Deputy
me.
Reeve
It
Kester
puts
has
a price
heard
for
is
them to work
required.
from. See where they.
let's put the 90 cents in if that's what you was indicated to you would be
Depends.
required.
You know, when you double a price, it's an automatic red flag. We can increase it by 20 cents a year for 2 years or 3 years. Maybe that's more palatable. That's what we did for our dispatch. 20 cents, 20, 40, 20 cents for 2 years with our 22, that would bring us up to double.
I'd be good with that, and then it's phased in. Realistically, like $5 a year, probably on people's $100 phone bills is probably gonna be doable. Just to jump.
I know what my ratepayers say when I'm only adding $1 to your taxes. It's only,
So
but it's already high.
with that thought process, so how many people have, their whole family members have phones? You used to
Exactly.
get charged one requisition for one phone line to your house. So when you're talking the landlines are gone, there's actually more phones in Alberta now than there ever has been.
Yep.
And this is the reason why we're lower, is because Alberta traditionally has had more cell phones than any other province because of the industry that we've had here. Alberta's always been first in that. And I think that's kind of skewed there.
But then if you look at the service that's being provided to all those phones, that's what we're looking at, right?
So you're not just hitting yourselves, your kids and everything else, every phone that's on there. So,
My
problem-
kid can't afford to pay their emergency levy, they can't afford their cell phone. My kids all have to be responsible for their own, and they're getting that service, I'd expect them to pay for it.
I'm not sure how the money goes from your bill to the call provider. But the tower you hit, I don't think it's, the tower is in your county, you would think you would get the money, but if that tower picks up in Drumheller, like a lot of our county, then I think all that revenue goes to a different provider. So there could be some changes made in the way that money's rolled out too. I don't know if it's possible or if they can do it. It's not 100% fair. I don't believe we're getting our allotted share of it. I'm not 100% sure how that works either.
You were going to put a price on your motion, or?
So you have requested a friendly amendment. Would you consider a friendly amendment to your friendly amendment to make it 2 20-cent increases?
Just not all at once. But when you present it to the floor, they want something. If you don't put a number there, somebody else will.
Okay, I'll accept the amendment of 2 20-cent increases over 2 years. So we would just put under the operative clause, the first paragraph, therefore be it resolved that the rural municipalities of Alberta request that the government of Alberta amend the emergency 911 levy regulation and increase the 911 levy payable by cellular device subscribers by 20 cents each year for 2 years. Or something to that effect if somebody has better language than I do. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Deputy Reeves report.
Oh, sorry. Daydreaming. Just to add on to the housing report, we did go up. I did participate in the September 5th meeting with the minister. Oh, and just a couple little things. And the Reeves report you had down there that Steve Graychak was representing the Lions Club. He's actually a board member. And he's there because of the Strathmore Lions Club. He doesn't represent area Lions Club. He's there because the Lions Club was giving a board seat when the board was formed because they donated some land that they had a housing thing on in Strathmore at the time, and that's why they're on the board. And the Hospice Society has actually been coming to our meetings since spring. And they have been participating in the meetings, the board meetings, since spring. It's just that the board has got a formal motion to ask the minister to have them become part of the board. And from what I hear, it takes about 6 months. So if there's any questions on that, and the Hospice Society has a formal motion that they would like to join too. It takes time. And part of the most telling thing at the meeting, I thought, was the growth in the town. So since 2001, the town of Strathmore and county have grown about 81%. But the age groups of the 65 plus has grown 132%. This is faster. And the 85 group is the highest group at 167, almost 168%. So that's where we're running in. It's the seniors, a lot of them are staying in Strathmore and some have to be moving there to account for those high numbers. So that's what I think really got the minister got our project on the radar. It's the growth rate and the number of seniors and the lack of housing. 1-bedroom apartments for rent in Strathmore, I do have a number on that. It is There are only 5 bachelor suites and 27 one-bedroom units available for rent in all of Strathmore. 119 two-bedroom units and 39 three-bedroom units. So a lot of our seniors are renting 2 and 3 bedroom units because that's all they can get. They don't need it, and plus it's a drain on their money. So I don't know if that's just all part of the presentation. If there's any questions, I'm glad to ask. Otherwise, I'll move my report.
All in favor? Motion is carried. And I did realize I completely skipped over 2.1, but maybe we'll go back to that after council reports. My apologies. Division 1 council report.
As you can see circulated, my September report is in front of you. Pretty busier month than the last 2, that's for sure. I really enjoyed the branding session put on by the ECDev department. It was very interesting, and I love the brands that we came up with. I think they're a good way to move forward and attract business. The only thing I'd like to touch on is the SEWA meeting on the 20th. I'm alternate on that board for Ben. They have shortlisted 4 sites. The media release has not went out yet. I don't believe they were waiting to do it till after the session with all the participating municipalities.
4 sites?
4 sites, 3 municipalities.
Oh, okay.
And I asked when they were hoping to narrow it down, and they said within a month of that meeting. So I'd say by the 1st of November, we should have a preferred site. The biggest issue for all the municipalities, municipal members there were the trucking costs. That's all of the members, representatives say that's the most questions that they get asked from their councils is the trucking costs. So I think we didn't want to discuss it as we were putting the cart before the horse at that point, because we don't even have a site pinpointed yet. But it'll be a topic of discussion as soon as we have a site planned, and one of the sites were considerably less with the trucking cost for the whole region rather than another. So we'll see if that site is picked. Pardon? Can't speak for that. Oh, did I spell it? Oh yeah, sorry about that. They will be picking a site, pinpoint. They'll be, yeah, I don't know what I said there. They will be pinpointing a site, I think is what I meant to say. If there's no other questions, I'll just mention the Handy Bus Casino. We had a great turnout, good counts both nights, and thanks for Tom. We just, with Mr. Vandervelde passing, we had both him and Florence on the list, and we needed to find quick fill-ins, and we appreciate Tom being able to come and fill that. It's not a fun job by any means, sitting in the cage for 9 hours, but in the middle of the
It's
night.
better than bacon pies.
But we do appreciate, and it was a great casino. So, other than that, I will move my report.
Any questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Division 3.
Yeah, just a couple dates I didn't have, and I don't have a whole lot of information on these. There, but on October 9th next week, there's Travel Alberta is putting a lunch on. I'm going to email you, which I maybe have already, but where it's going to be held and what it's about. It's on Terry from Rockin' Our Ranch is going to speak about experiences through tourism, And October 10th, the Chamber is putting on a lunch, and it's at the golf course, and their speaker will be from the Royal Bank. And I'm not sure about the subject of it. And that, we have a meeting tomorrow at the Chamber, so I will send out after that exactly what it's all about to you guys. The memorial for Dawn Vanderbilt, or the funeral, was well attended, and Ben did a really good job speaking, and yeah, he was a good guy. And I move my report as read.
Any questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Division 4.
I think everything's been sort of well covered. I just wanted to, the Wheatland County Golf Tournament was, I think, a great success. We have to get to know our oiling crew guys better. They're a lot of fun. Well, maybe too much fun. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
So the, and I would, September 16th, the town hall at, for Rural Crime Watch at the Cheadle Community Hall. I got to commend the, our provincial government for getting out and having the Justice Minister there in Cheadle. I don't remember the last time we had
I just can't believe that's how you first.
any kind of a minister in Cheadle.
Everybody.
It'll be interesting to see if they can do what they say they're going to do, and I think we're going to have to probably going to cost us a bit more money down the road for policing and that kind of stuff, because that seems to be the way they're leading. But it was very good to see the minister out there and public input. And Dawn Vanderbilt's memorial was very well attended. It was, Councillor Armstrong did a wonderful job on the eulogy. So with that, I'll move my report.
Any questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Division 5.
My report is here, some highlights of it. BRBC meeting in Calgary, Bow River Basin Council. Brian DeJong asked me to step in for himself when he cannot make it. And future planning, he says he wants to retire, so he wants me to be on the board, so I said, sure.
That's awesome.
Everything else is on there. What isn't on there that I realized after listening to this, September 9th, I did go to the immigration strategy. The 16th, I did go to the rural crime tour. And on the 18th, I was at the red tape reductionist, but I forgot to write it on here as well. So just wanted to mention that. If there are no questions, I will move my report.
Any questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Division 7.
Thank you. It's on the website. The Alberta Care Conference in Peace River was a good conference. There was quite a bit of discussion around some of the presentations, one with the hydrovac, and it's listed on here, and the issues around their new government regulations around compost as it applies to fertilizer regulations, and the rules around these hydrovacs and what they do with their product. There was one fellow speaking to it, and he said these people that are taking this product on their land, it really there's no real value to it, and when they take that product, they're accepting all the liability that goes with it once they put it on their land. And if they don't have a declaration forever, the hauler, as to what it is, where it comes from, and what's in it, they're liable for everything that happens with it. So that was interesting to listen to. The discussion around the government regulations around their application rates and their disclosure and their organic labeling and the prohibited material. And we were talked about up there about the issues in Strathmore because of that waste, that nice composting plant we've got there. And that they should be, they should not be agricultural ventures, they should all be industrial or listed differently. And everybody was in agreement with it. An update on the plastics program, which was Al Camry was there and did an update on that. Rest of it is there. Minister of Environment on September 25th, 5 members from Alberta Care went up there, and there was discussion around ag plastics, the ERP or the EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility, and issues around the cost of recycling and whether or not they were going to revisit and increase what they're what you're paying for electronics, batteries, oil, tires, the whole thing. And the one thing the minister wanted to know is, were we in favor of him moving forward with that prior to doing the full ERP discussion? And we said, oh yeah, we need that funding a lot faster than we need the other one. You can work on it. So he wanted to move ahead with it, but he wanted something from us saying that he has to go ahead with. So hopefully within the next year we have something on the recyclables that is there starting to suffer pretty bad on that. And Jason spoke about the SEWA, so I won't say much more about that. We'll have more next month, hopefully. And if there's no questions, then I'll move my report. And I have the one after for.
Any questions for Councillor Armstrong? All in favor? Motion is carried. Your second matter?
Okay. We had some discussion the other day about an issue that I've been dealing with out in my area for the last couple of years. So I revised some of it, but I'm still presenting it, and I'm going to put a motion on the floor to have council explore the option of acquiring an easement on 7 acres of land on the south side of road allowance on Township Road 254, west of the road allowance RR 175, to allow a landowner or landowners, there's 2 of them involved, access to 4 quarters of land that cannot be accessed. Doesn't sound right. From spring to fall because of wetland issues and costs, and I have some background information on that. I've got the resolution here if you want it, so you don't have to try and remember. So for 2 years, I've been trying to come up with a solution to accessing 4 quarters of land on the east side of Duck Lake, and that doesn't have a reasonable access in the spring through into the fall freeze up, simply because of new regulations put in place by Alberta Environment dealing with wetlands on road allowances. The 3-acre wetland there's a 3-acre wetland on one of the road allowances, and it could be circumvented by acquiring the easement of 7 acres without a $45,000 wetland study and a wetland compensation payment between $30,000 and $230,000. And this was this was all given to me last year by Mike and
Alyssa?
Yeah, they went out there and did the study, and this is what it would cost to deal with that half mile of road. The road construction for the half mile, and they're not asking for a road to be built in there, but if they were to build that half mile of road, the cost of the road is $300,000 plus the study costs and the compensation payment. The total of that road, if we were to build that half mile of road, would be $575,000. The issues come about because of excessive water in Duck Lake over the last 5 years. Some of it's from slough drainage that all the landowners out there are involved in, but most of it is because of renewed activity by 2 springs on the Sioux Creek flowing in from the northwest of Duck Lake, and it's flowing there for the last 4 years, probably 1.5 feet, 2 feet deep and 2 feet wide, and it's running 24/7 and it's coming from two different springs. The landowners have up until 2.5 years ago been accessing their land by crossing a quarter-mile dike at the north end of the lake that was built in the 40s. But that, for the last 2 years, has been under 2 feet of water and is now compromised, and he doesn't know. He figures if he has to go in there and do any work on that, it's going to cost him close to $100,000 to, if the water level goes down enough that he can get into it. There's 4 road allowances that access that 4 quarters, but every single one of them, 2 of them are 2 miles long, one's 1.75 miles, and this one that I'm talking about is a half mile. But every single one of them has issues with wetlands. You can't access them because of the wetlands. And if we go in there, we have the same issue on every one of them for the wetlands. They're currently gaining access from 2 miles north, but they have to move out onto private land 3 to 4 times by the time they travel the 2 miles. This is being tolerated, but it's not appreciated by the landowner. That 2 miles of upgraded access to this area coming from the south has 3 low areas with water sloughs built up. 8 or 9 years ago, we built that up with pit run at a minimum cost to the county. But now, because of the ridiculous and unnecessary requirements of Alberta environment, it would cost close to $100,000 before we could put a load of pit run in place. And that isn't even talking about building the road. So if it wasn't for these silly requirements at Alberta environment, our crews would have had this issue cleared up 1.5 years ago, because they went in and looked at it and they were going to put gravel in it, fix it up for and they couldn't do it because of the environmental issues. It would have been dealt with. And the landowners aren't asking for a road to be built. They're just asking for access through a public right-of-way. So my request is that we have staff go out and investigate the possibility of acquiring an easement on that 7 acres to allow access. And bring a report back to council as to what that cost would be if we were to acquire an easement on that 7 acres. Mike's got all the information on it that he presented the other day on that easement. Any questions?
Just for clarification, the half mile, are the landowners unwilling to work with each other? Have they tried?
I'm not sure if they have. I know Mike talked to the one, and he said he's willing to talk, but I'm not concerned as much about that as I am about the responsibility of the municipality. Do we have some responsibility, without getting the landowners involved in it, to supply access to the land that they're farming?
But are we opening up a can of worms because there are many parcels throughout the county?
No, because we've already done it. I thought about that, and I've thought about this extensively over the last few days. We've already done that. We've already set a precedent. When the oil company was out there drilling hard, I don't know how many roads they built for us, and we shared that cost with them. We did the surveying, we did the land acquisition, and we put the gravel in place. All they did was build the road, but we dealt with the landowners. We kept the oil company out of it. We're the ones that dealt with all the back sloping, the fencing, and the gravel. They built. So we've already set that precedent. We're not setting a precedent by doing this. We're just trying to help an industry move ahead, and we do it with the oil company. Why can't we do it for our ag industry? He's landbound. The neighbors could physically stop him from getting on that land without going through the road allowance with a 4-wheel drive tractor and tearing the road allowance up. And then as a municipality, we'd go after him for tearing the road allowance apart with his equipment. It doesn't make sense. And all it would cost is the cost of an easement to allow him access if the other neighbor was willing to have it. Now, I would rather have the easement in the county's name than in the landowner's name, and we have control of it. It'd be our easement, it wouldn't be his. And we've done that in other places too, where the county owns easements. So I don't think we're setting any precedent.
When the oil companies were building those roads, they were built on Crown land, right? They were a different standard, and county has a policy And that policy is for anybody. There's been private landowners built roads and they got the same considerations. But we have lots of, I don't know, lots, I know of instances where people are not able to build on the road allowance and they have private easements to go through their neighbor's land, and I can't think of any that the county has acquired an easement through a private piece of land to gain access. I know there are easements out there, and so recently I knew of one that didn't even have an easement. They were still using it. I would prefer myself that the landowners got together themselves and see if they can't. Otherwise, if the county has to go out and start getting easements from everybody, or just a bare road allowance, I know we go out and we purchase land, or we have, to build a road. And if this was to build a road, it would be different, become part of the road plan. We could, trade road allowances and stuff. We've done that in the past, but I have a hard time with an easement and just leaving it as such. I would prefer that the neighbors get together, and if they can't come to some sort of an agreement, I don't know. Just trying to be, I've had ratepayers in my own division, same type of thing, problem. It is a problem.
I agree with Glenn. Not only ratepayers, we have that same problem. We have a creek that cuts off probably 100 acres that we can't get to. So we have an easement to go into our neighbor's field, across his crossing, and back into our field. We did that without the help of municipal government. We didn't waste staff's time. There's some individual responsibility there, and I'm sorry, but if the ratepayers aren't willing to do that for their own benefit, it's out of my hands.
I think that I'd feel more comfortable if we continue lobbying the government and start and seeing if we can claw back some of these regulations that they have for wetlands and that kind of stuff, so that it is not as onerous for people to rehab a road that has been there and through faults of other farmers, because they always want more land, damming and diverting water and all that kind of stuff, that we can maybe work with. And I feel far better that if we direct administration to continue pushing down that road, that if we've got a road allowance and we need minimal access to it, then there shouldn't be a wetland study need to be done and that kind of stuff. So I'd prefer to see we continue going down the road we're doing, that we try to get less regulation on rehabbing current roads.
Myself, if we're going to do this, I want to see what's in all of the county, because if one goes and we do this, then it could start a snowball effect and other people wanting to know if they can get access. So what kind of liability is out there if we do this? Because like you said, there's some in your area yourself, so people start hearing, well, they're going to solve it for us. So I'd need to know what is out there. How much is, and that's the problem. Like, I understand what you're saying. I don't.
Well, because of the issues around wetlands and this, and I honest to God think it's absolutely ridiculous what they've put municipalities through. They're holding us at ransom, and I could go out, I could put a half mile of road on the road program, and it would go on there and it would fall in 5, 6, 7 years down the road. The county would go in there and spend $500,000, $750,000 building a half mile of road. This is just one way of allowing access in there without doing it, and they're not asking for a road. They're just asking for some access to the land that they have no legal access to. They're accessing it now, but they're doing it because they're driving through their brother-in-law's land to get to it. I'm not saying they can't deal with their neighbors. They just want to have the guarantee that they have permanent access without having to deal with neighbors, because neighbors change.
But the easement wouldn't. If they got an easement, it stays on the title. Yeah. I know.
If we put the easement in place, it would be our easement, it would be our deal. It wouldn't matter who the landowner was, it would be ours. And if it's precedent setting, fine, it's precedent setting, but we've done it before. We've never had anybody come in here and say that I built a house and you you did all this work for the oil companies to get their roads in place. Why don't you do it for me?
We do it for them.
Oh, we've made landowners on this side of the county over here build their road at their own cost with no help from the municipality. One of them was just 3 miles south of Strathmore and he had a half a mile of road to build. Anyways, that's my motion.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is lost.
Take a 5.
Yeah. Call for a 5-minute break. We'll reconvene at 5 after 10. We're going to move back to the agenda items I skipped at 2.1A. We had a note regarding the organizational meeting. We previously discussed potentially rescheduling that. I believe we currently have it scheduled for October 15th. I think the intention is to keep it October 15th at this point. So, just for council's information, organizational meeting will be October 15th and our council meeting will follow the organizational meeting.
Oh, is the organizational half an hour earlier or are we still 9 o'clock?
I think we had it scheduled for 9, I believe.
Yes, it was scheduled at 9. We can leave it at 9.
Okay.
I think the council meeting is scheduled for 11 that day.
Then we had added ratification of council attendance at some meetings.
So I have several in September. There was September 26th, Housing Minister Pond, that was Edmonton. I'm not sure who went to that one. The Nihil anniversary, September 13th. We can discuss them separately or together, it doesn't matter. September 16th was sub-regional in Chestermere. And then all those ones that the ministers invited us to, I'm not sure how we deal with that. There was one September 19th for immigration strategy. September 16th was rural crime, and September 18th was red tape. Those were invitations from ministers, so those ones could be separate if we wanted to.
And then there's 2 additional ones that we've noted for October, the SAWA workshop for October 3rd that council's participating in, and a meeting with Minister Madhu October 28th that the CMRB representatives will be attending. Margaret indicated it would be best to have a resolution for that meeting.
What was that one, sorry?
October 28th with Minister Madhu, the CMRB.
Oh, yeah.
Does council want to do one motion for all of them or do them individually?
I'll move that the ones where the ministers invited us, that the council members that attended be reimbursed.
Okay.
Okay.
So which one, the immigration strategy and rural crime?
So it'd be
And red
September
tape.
9th, 16th, and 18th. 9th was immigration strategy. 16th was rural crime. That was the one that was in Cheadle. And 18th was red tape, and that one was in Langdon. And the immigration strategy was in Northeast Calgary. Those are different ones. Those are the last. And then we still have the October 3rd, 28th, September 26th, 13th, and 16th.
Any of them that the ministers invited you to,
Including the,
Minister Pon as well, when I went.
Yep.
Okay.
Minister Pond one is different. That was not an invite by the
Right.
minister. That was an invite by the town of Strathmore.
oh,
Just so council's aware that town of Strathmore invited.
thought it was still dealing with a minister and information from the minister. I think those
Yeah.
are the ones that are, if they come out and you go to them, they're the ones you want to be attending.
That's right.
Is I think in those instances, you're noticed more by your absence than you are your attendance, so I don't have an issue with that being.
so that includes Madhu on the 28th.
So that would include September 26th, the housing with Mr. Pond, the September 9th immigration, September 16th rural crime, September 18th red tape, and then October 28th is Madhu.
Any of them that do with
Gotcha.
Okay. And just to clarify my attendance with Minister Pond, my understanding, it was relayed through Town of Strathmore, but they had indicated that the steering committee of the Wheatland Housing Board had met and felt strongly that it was important that the Reeve of Wheatland County attend the meeting. So just for clarification.
No, that wasn't discussed.
I'm just sharing what was told with myself. I believe you
Okay.
weren't at the steering committee meeting, but I'm just going off what was shared with me, so.
They had a meeting without the chair there.
They just indicated to me it was a steering committee meeting and that you weren't. I think you may have, I'm not sure where you were. I can't speak to that, just going off what I was told. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor for the meetings with the ministers. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
So I'll just present the September 13th, the Nihil anniversary, the sub-regional September 16th in Chestermere, and then the October 3rd.
You got to speak up there, Scott.
Sorry. September 13th, just the ones that are left over. Nihil anniversary, September 16th was sub-regional meeting in Chestermere, and then October 3rd was
The SEWA workshop.
SAWA workshop.
It's a communication workshop that council's
Communication
been
workshop,
invited
which I think
to
is important.
participate in. Are you making a motion?
I can make a motion for the remainder of them.
Any questions or discussion?
Should the Centennial be on there? Just a question.
I don't know. I was gone most of the day for it, so it's at council's discretion. It does not have to be.
Who went?
Or which centennial are you talking about?
Or
Sorry, 75th
Nihil's
anniversary.
Yeah, that was on there, September 13th.
Yeah, I don't think that needs to be on there.
Also, we increased the Reeves' salary. I thought that was for some of these special type instances. I would prefer it not on.
There's a motion
Just-
on the floor. We can vote on it.
So you're talking just the Nihil one then?
King Hill one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just, did I get an invite to that?
No,
No, it was to the Reeve.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I don't,
Reeve and CAO and General Manager Boscariel attended with me because the
in the
CAO
past,
was away.
anytime, it was usually done beforehand, but in the past, anytime the Reeve was invited to any of these, and it was usually the Reeve and CAO to any of these open house or openings of the new municipal councils within reason, within our zone, that was usually paid for by council. I don't have an issue with it.
On the same note, council's drastically increased the Reeves' salary, and I thought that was to cover a lot of those instances, because I know when I was Reeve, I was always, I'd ask, a lot of them you go to for, just because. And that was my understanding.
In a lot of that, I agree with you, but I think most of that was my understanding. I know when I was in that same position, anything within the county was usually, that's what I figured was part of that extra remuneration. Outside of the county boundaries was extra. That's the way I looked at it.
So just for public clarification, the Reeve position has always paid more than a council position because of increased responsibilities in terms of representation. If you go through my report, you'll see several instances: Alberta Police Costing Webinar, Town of Strathmore groundbreaking ceremony, several instances where I represent the county, the Prairie to Pallet dinner where I'm paying for my own tickets for all of these things and attending at my own time and volunteering to represent the county. Not necessarily things I would do if I wasn't representing the county. I think we had this conversation before. Some of them I definitely would, just as a citizen of Wheatland County. The reeve position has always paid more than council. The ones that typically I ask council to commit for or consider for ratification are things that are like quite a full day commitment or that involve travel. And in terms of a significant increase to the pay for the reeve position, I believe when the Winford Group did the analysis for the province, it was, and administration might remember better than I do, but like a 30% recommended increase or something like that when it compared the reeve remuneration compared to other municipalities, and I think we did 8%, I think. Something like that. Don't quote me on the numbers.
Yeah, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but we didn't go up to the recommended market rate.
Right. So just for public clarification about the significant increase to the pay to the reeve. So. There is a motion on the floor. Is there further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Just to note that MLA Angela Pitt, we're going to reschedule our meeting with her because of the CMRB tour this afternoon, and just that we are rescheduling with the other MLAs as well. So Margaret's been working with their scheduling staff to see when we can meet with the MLAs again. CAO report.
Good morning, Council. So I did not have an opportunity to prepare a written report. I was away for the majority of September. So when I got back, so I was here for 1 week in September, I worked on various matters in relation to the remedial orders issued in early July 2019 against the parcel of land in Division 5, the compost facility. Worked on some budget preparations. We also held 2 planning and priority meetings in September as well. We're also working on that Fire and Protective Services Department review report, and we're also scheduling and looking forward to the fire mediation to be held on October 22nd.
Excellent. Any questions? A motion to accept his information. Councillor Bigger has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Corporate and Financial Services report.
Yes, so on page 29 of the agenda package is the Corporate and Financial Services monthly report. So corporate services have been working on a variety of different things. We've been updating our HR policies for council's review and approval. Working on various updating of IT equipment, just kind of our general recycle or updating cycle that we have to just ensure that we have adequate equipment for staff. Working on a big migration to Microsoft 365 off of our current system. That's going to improve our IT security and just various other products. And the biggest thing, we've been working on the budget, and we've also filled the position of the financial analyst, and the new financial analyst will be starting on October 7th.
That's exciting. Any questions regarding the Corporate and Financial Services Department?
I'll move the report.
Deputy Reeve Custer has moved the report. All in favor? Motion is carried. Community and Development Services report.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
So before you, you have the Community and Development Services monthly report. Again, there's not much to describe in terms of any differences with regards to permit intake or planning application intake. As Council is well aware, we're doing a lot of exciting things with regards to community services and economic development. One thing to note, our staff and myself are working on the Recreation Cost Sharing Agreement Project Charter. We had our kickoff meeting with our consultant and the town of Strathmore 2 weeks ago. This Friday, we will continue our work with our consultant to get that cost sharing agreement project charter rolling along, and we will keep council updated as we proceed. Economic development, we undertook the final branding exercise with council and our economic development board several weeks ago with our final brand, as you can see in council chambers. We are rolling out that brand development, and in addition, we will be launching at the same time our website with all of the economic development, community services and planning tools. Our geographic information systems, GIS, Esri, We are importing data, and we are getting that up and running, and hopefully we'll be able to launch that at the same time in conjunction with our economic development and our branding and our new website, rolling that out as well.
Excellent. Lots of exciting things happening there. Any questions?
Not a question, just a comment that your development permits are quite a bit higher than in the past. Good to see.
Yeah, in terms of year to date, we have had some intake recently with regards to smaller developments, but yeah, it's an exciting time, and we're monitoring that closely in conjunction with our economic development initiatives.
Any other questions or comments? A motion to accept his information.
So moved.
Councillor Clausen has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. There's a request for decision regarding the Foothills County and Wheatland County Intermunicipal Committee Terms of Reference.
So through the REEV, this is an RFD to approve these terms of reference as we proceed with regards to the Foothills County and Wheatland County IDP. Of course, we will be working off of these terms of reference for any work that we have as we proceed with that IDP.
Any questions regarding the terms of reference?
No.
A motion to approve.
So moved.
Councillor Wilson has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. There's an RFD regarding the Wheatland Regional Emergency Management Plan.
So through the REEV, if council will recall, an open house was held with regards to the Wheatland Regional Emergency Management Plan amongst council, administration, and all of the regional municipalities on May the 13th. At that time, the open house was well received, and administration attempted to move forward on implementing the plan further. There's been some lag between that time and now. Recently, administration met with the regional partners with regards to the plan, and each of the hamlets of Carsland, Chancellor, Cheadle, Cluny, Gleason, Lyelton, Ameka, Nightingale, and Rosebud, Strathmore, Hussar, Rockyford, and Standard. We all came together, well, most of us did, and we plan to bring this forward in this month, each of them with the respective councils. And of course, before you, the plan describes the regional emergency management requirements. It hits all the legislative requirements as well. It describes governance structures and all the positions required as well.
Any questions or comments on the emergency plan? Just two quick comments on page 76. Under mandatory evacuation order, I think voluntary should read mandatory.
Okay.
And on page 80, there's reference to a staff member that's no longer employed with Wheatland County. I wasn't sure if that list should be as an as an appendix, just so it's easier to keep up to date.
Absolutely. And to council, so as noted by the REEV, there are a few amendments to make. And as you will note, we are going through a review as well. So we will amend all of our policies and our plans with regards to fire and emergency services, pending on the results of that. So we will note those amendments and make them, and we can make them at any time. If they are major, we will bring back this plan to council for your approval. But any minor amendments in terms of position titles or what have you, we will update accordingly.
Be kept up to date.
Absolutely.
I think this is excellent just for the increase in capacity that it provides all the municipalities and the redundancy for Director of Emergency Management and things like that. So I think this is a really good regional work that we've done. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Not a motion to approve the Wheatland Regional Emergency Management Plan.
So moved.
Councillor Wilson has moved. Any questions?
Is that, are we approving the plan or are we moving first reading?
I believe approve the plan first, and then we would move first reading of the bylaw. And then I believe the other municipalities will be considering it at the same time. And like General Manager Buscario mentioned, we can always revisit aspects of the plan if there are things that need tweaking as we are implementing it, or as the committee or I forget all the different layers of, there's several groups affiliated with it that I was trying to keep straight, but as feedback is provided by those groups as it's being implemented. You bet, yep. I believe the plan is referenced in the bylaw,
That's correct.
so we just would need that to be approved first. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. On page 181 is the RFT for the bylaw.
So through the REEV, this is for first reading and consideration of establishing the Regional Emergency Management Committee, Agency and Planning Coordinating Group bylaw. This bylaw is essential in order to move forward, and the recommendation is that first reading be given. Subsequent to that, second and third reading will be brought forward at a later council date.
Any questions or discussion? A motion for first reading. Councillor Bigger has moved first reading. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you.
Carried.
Oh, carried. Thank you. Transportation and Agriculture report.
Yes, good morning, Council.
Good morning.
So you have the Transportation and Ag report in front of you there. I'll just highlight a few of the areas. Right now we're maintenance crews are kind of moving into the fall maintenance program, so tree trimming, culvert repairs are where we start going now in this portion of the year. We have a couple large bridge files that we're planning on doing still before the end of the year, as well as multiple culvert replacements. The construction crew is about 3/4, 75% done to Range Road 245 here, just nearing the highway. So they're hoping to get that completed by the end of the year here and cleaned up. Contract work, there's a contractor working on Township Road 252. They're a little bit farther behind, about 60% done on that right now. So we're hoping with the delay that they have in the weather here that they don't get pushed into next year. We hope to have that road completed this year as well. As well as some other contract work, the concrete sidewalks for Gleason and Clooney are complete, installed, and have received final approval. As well, there's a contractor moving into Gleason to do the lagoon liner repair as part of the capital works for 2019. So there's some of the highlights there. I'm able to answer any questions that council has, if need be.
Yeah, Mike, the sidewalk in front of the Merck on the east side, it's rising again. I think, I don't know who fixed it last time, but it was drilled and muck pumped underneath it.
And mud jacked, yeah.
There's something else going on down there. Just maybe take a peek at that.
Okay, yeah, no, I can get the Hamlet crew to look at that.
And I had a comment to an email on snow plowing. Wondering why the county wasn't out. Now I'm thinking the county was out on the weekend. I'm sure that happened, but can you explain to everybody what our policy is when we have a snow event like we had? And
Right. So we have two different procedures. We have both a rural procedure and an urban procedure. We have given priority routes within the urbans for not so much bus routes, but priority routes within the hamlets for high traveled roads. We foresaw the weather event that occurred this weekend, so we did have two large plow trucks ready to go, as well as our hamlet trucks had plows, no sanders, I believe. But we did have the operations. They were out on Sunday morning, and they cleared the roads twice, from what I understand, on that day. The snow was, I know I live on a paved road like that, and it accumulated quite quickly after the plows traveled by there. So it was hard to keep up with that, with the early nature we have here. Like I said, we had 2 of our plow trucks operational that day, and I didn't receive any concerned calls on the response times on this. So it's good to hear if you have, we can take that into account for the next event.
The only time our crews don't go out is during an event. If it was a storm, we don't send them out. It's after it more or less subsides, then doesn't matter if it's a weekend, holiday, or that they go.
Definitely. For sure, safety of our operators is foremost here. So we avoid, if there's a travel advisory, if there's any risks, we do take that into consideration. I mean, we had them out Sunday morning when there was a travel advisory out there, but we want to make sure that most of the roads are passable. As well, we avoid snow clearing throughout only during the daylight hours. We don't send them out at night, just for safety of our drivers and the general public there.
Thanks, Mike. That's what I thought.
Okay.
One other concern it's not a concern, was an observation. I seen the truck out Sunday morning. It come down to 263 into Rocky Ford. Of course, it didn't plow anything, I don't think. 263 is that government road going into Rocky Ford.
Right.
They come down that road. I'm wondering, you said we have new contracts. There's a new contract for the county for road maintenance. The province is forcing that road on us. It always seems to be getting done last. Is there any thought that maybe if we're going to be driving down that road to get to the Rocky Ford Road for whatever reason, why don't we put the plow down and plow it? You know, just give it some thought, or ask it's the first snowfall of the year, and that road was the worst road. Like, most people don't drive it anymore. They go to town, take the Rocky Ford Road because it's clear and it's good to travel. Yeah. But if we're going to make a habit of driving down that road, I'm going to get concerns pretty soon. Why wasn't the plow down? Just more or less a heads up. I don't personally, if that's the way the route is, that's fine by me. But maybe we should consider putting the plow down when we go over it. I'm not saying it wasn't down. All I seen it was running down the road. I couldn't tell you if they were plowed it or not. I went home the gravel road that morning, but it's just a potential for concerns coming up, I'm thinking.
My question, through the chair, my question would be why he uses that road to go to Rocky Ford when he should go down the number 1 and start at the south end, or is there 2 different plow trucks?
I don't know what the route was and why he come down there. I can't answer that.
Yeah, and through the chair, without looking at their routing, they do have specific routing. They know which way they're going and traveling back for reloading the sanding. So where they were traveling on there, they likely went up to 21 and then up to the 262 over to Muntrath Road there, which is the quickest way to get to that road as well, right? So that, I mean, to the point that we should be clearing that road. We travel on a lot of provincial highways as well, which we try and avoid. It's their jurisdiction. Until we actually get granted that or allocated that road, I would avoid doing any extra maintenance on there or expelling any of our resources on the road. Because it wouldn't just be the plow, it would be the sanding as well that we'd do on there and using our equipment. It's something we can consider talking to transportation about, but I think we would be taking something out of their allotment there, so we should be compensated if we are going to start maintaining that road without it being our jurisdiction.
The reason I bring it up is because they want to keep saying it's our road, and we're in the middle of that, and we did replace the culverts, and when's enough? I'm just thinking, give us some money to pave it and we'll look after it from now on. The road is deteriorated to the time we get it. It's just going to be a burden on the county. Thinking maybe we should be a little more proactive with it is all I'm thinking.
So it is on our agenda, I think, to discuss with transportation. Was that on?
I do believe so.
I
We
believe
added
it
to
was
that,
as
yeah.
well.
Sorry. There's a bull riding, not what you think.
Mike, just a question, and we're going to be getting at questions on this. Is Carsland still scheduled to be done this year for this season? For the going underneath the track and finishing that up?
Yeah, so through
Yeah.
the chair, that is, if it's not occurring this week, it should be.
Okay.
The boring of the water line and the sanitary connection there, just in preparation for the, yeah, no, it's all part of the contract with the folks out there.
I did see the trucks out on Sunday, and then I was working as well, so, and it was nice to see them. The only thing was the MRO on 261, is that supposed to be plowed? Because it wasn't.
Yeah, through the chair, that should have been added to the
Yeah, it
circulate.
wasn't
Okay.
done. Just so you know, I don't
Okay,
know if
no,
it's
that's
hard
good.
enough yet for them to drive on it or whatever, so.
Is today.
Any other questions regarding transportation or agriculture?
Just
Motion. Oh, sorry.
through the chair, just to thank you for the work done on, that I had requested on the duck, that issue over on the Duck Lake area on the east side. But your report and Alicia's report also, thank you.
Alyssa. Alyssa.
Alyssa.
Alicia, sorry. I'll get it right eventually.
Yeah.
I will.
Or I can save it tomorrow if there's no answer either. Club route inspections going okay? Yeah, nothing so far.
Yeah, maybe Alyssa could speak to that a little bit, actually, because we have begun the testing. Maybe if you don't mind coming up, you can answer that question.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Alyssa.
So we had 104 fields surveyed this year. We had our summer student out doing it. Yeah, that's kind of, we didn't find anything this year. We had one sample that we thought was suspect. We sent it away. It came back clean. So there was no finding this year at all.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update. Any other questions or comments? A motion to approve the report is presented.
I'll move.
Councillor Eichert has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. There's an RFD regarding the lease at the Thurn Pit Riparian Grazing Demonstration Site.
Okay, thank you. So this RFD is for the 5-year lease for the Thurn gravel pit. We own a portion of land up in Rocky View County there, which we utilize a majority of it for, I guess a minority of it for a gravel pit. The remainder we lease out. We've been leasing out to the same landowner for at least the last decade, if not more. The lease is coming up as part of our new revised leasing policy. We are looking to have these implemented in October so that we can start the lease starting January 1 there. So this RFD is for approval to send out the RFD or the lease request for proposals, after which we'll review them and then award it to the successful candidate.
A motion to approve. Councillor Wilson. Questions or discussion?
Just curiosity, is this a normal fee? I'm not a pasture lease guy, so.
$25 a head.
$25 a head? Is that over 120?
170.
Yeah, but 120
120
days.
days.
I have no idea if it's fair or not.
4 months.
That's a current lease though, so it'd be sent out for proposals.
Yeah, so through the chair, the new, it would go out for bids and then we would do right of first refusal to the current leasee at the highest rate, basically.
Right. So it will be all market.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Motion is carried. There's an RFT regarding the environmental audit quarterly update.
Okay, so this is the Q4 update for environmental audit. Basically, the details are there. Alyssa's here as well if you had any questions specifically for this audit regarding that. You'd say we're basically moving forward. I think we have 76% of our recommendations complete as of now, and moving towards finalizing them.
Any questions or comments?
Just a question, so any of the upgrade, or the repairs for fixing these, is that within budget, or was it budgeted for?
That's a great question. So through the chair. So with the audit, what we did was we got it at the end of 2018 after budget was already complete, kind of our rounds there. So what we committed to in 2019 was correcting what we could within budget, budgeting for anything for 2020 that needs to be corrected moving forward. For the most part, everything that requires money is done already. We were able to do most of it. There's just some long-term items that are going to carry forward for a couple of years, probably. And so what'll happen with kind of the red and yellow stuff that's still either some progress been made or staff are aware of it, is it'll get carried over into subsequent years at this point. My goal for the end of 2019 is for just a plan to be in place to correct everything that was found. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? A motion to accept as information. Councillor Bigger has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. We do
Thank you
appreciate
all.
the updates.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Protective Services report.
So through the Reeve to Council, before you, you have the Protective Services report for August of 2019. All of the highlights and statistics are included in the supplementary package. But of note, right now, as the CAO has indicated to Council, we are going through the Fire and Protective Services Department review as of today. So that process takes the full week, and we will be hopefully receiving the report back in a few weeks down the road, probably towards mid to the end of October. In that, there's several exercises that are taking place, and hopefully we'll be able to have some actionable items on that from that report that we can take stock of moving forward.
Any questions? Just a note, I know another councillor and I both received some good feedback regarding our peace officers and their visibility being out in the public and patrolling. When we were at some of the provincial engagement, we had some opportunity to hear from ratepayers there. We also had some good feedback as well about our public works staff, waste transfer station operators, as well as Hamlet crews, and just all around. I heard some really good things and actually no complaints. So that was wonderful.
I'll certainly relay the message to the Protective Services. On that note, Protective Services, the CPOs have been directed to be out on the road more, have more visibility. So I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No,
Being
the
noticed.
ratepayers are noticing for sure.
Every morning, I see them.
Following you with the
Like
lights
they're
on.
trying to get me. Every morning.
They got the problem fixed.
I slow down.
A motion to accept the report as information.
So moved.
Councillor Clausen has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried.
They could at least bring me coffee.
There is one item of correspondence for Make for Life.
Bless you.
And embedded in that correspondence is a request for funding. It's regarding their agriculture education programs in schools, and they were made an ask for us to consider an annual support of $1,500.
I'm almost thinking that this should come
The Ag Services.
Ag Service Board first, because then we can vet it and then move it on.
I had the same thoughts that we could send it there. So maybe just a motion to accept correspondence as information and to direct administration to forward this piece of correspondence to our Ag Services Chair.
Also moved.
Councillor Eichert has moved. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
By your motion.
The lunch is here.
I believe that completes our agenda.
We don't have that
motion.
appointment?
No, the appointment rescheduled.
Okay.
So a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councillor Wilson has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Can I pull a chair sheared? This meeting is terminated.
You didn't say it right. This meeting is terminated.